In previous videos in this series, I've demonstrated how to use Hype to make animated drawings and handwriting graphics for whiteboard explainer videos. These videos illustrated how to coordinate drawing and handwriting with the image of an instructor's hand. These graphics included making natural connections between drawing parts with invisible curved lines and a wipe effect to erase the board when you're finished. Another video showed how to speed up this workflow by automatically having the drawing hand follow these lines as they are made. In this video, I'll take these animated drawing techniques further by introducing 3 advanced methods for making these whiteboard graphics. These techniques include ways to paint in areas to fill shapes or add an extra dimension to your drawings, adding spot color for highlighting, and enabling pan and zoom effects to focus your viewer's attention from one part of the whiteboard to another. While these are more advanced techniques, they are all achieved without any coding, just regular Hype animation methods. Before we dig into these effects, let's consider some Hype settings to make these whiteboard drawings look the most realistic possible. Within Hype, there is a range of vector shape settings that you can use for animated drawing. For instance, you can use abrupt corner points with square line endings. That would produce an animation like this drawing where each corner point is razor sharp. But to my eye, this doesn't look very realistic. After all, it is hard to make sharp points with a whiteboard marker. An alternative approach is to use smooth points and rounded end caps to match the kind of line made by a whiteboard marker, like this animation. While less precise, I think that this drawing looks more like one you would see on a real whiteboard. The settings for each kind of line are controlled in the Vector Shape Inspector. The corresponding settings for each kind of animation are shown here. Zeroing in on this inspector, you can see there are 2 important settings. One for the line cap and one for line joins. To make paths that appear hand-drawn, it is probably best to use rounded joins and rounded end caps. Additionally, you will want to set the anchor point mode to something other than an abrupt point, using one of the other 3 options, here. With those selections made, let's go on and implement that paint in effect you saw earlier. To generate a realistic paint in effect requires balancing the time taken to fill in a shape against the effort of coloring neatly between the lines. Of course, you don't want to draw outside the lines, but equally, you don't want to waste time with detailed coloring in. My preferred method to balance these goals is to use a rough drawing followed by a gradual background fill. Let me show you how I do this. The first step is to draw the shape outline as you normally would. Then, the next step is to do a rough draw in. I normally make this drawing as a single line without lifting the marker off the surface. The idea here is not to spend a lot of time neatly coloring up to each edge, which is difficult with whiteboard markers anyway. The third step is to initiate a subtle background fill which is faded in almost imperceptibly. This background fill is added by changing the opacity on a copy of the original outline shape. Often I initiate this fade in effect as I'm going on to another part of the drawing, making it even less noticeable to the user. So with this paint in effect mastered, let's go on and implement the second effect you saw earlier. That is, using spot color to highlight things already drawn onto the whiteboard. The highlighting effect is very straightforward. It simply involves generating a single animated line that matches the color and thickness of a highlighting marker. Then it is just a matter of linking the line and marker as we've done many times already. In fact, there are 3 steps to constructing this animation. Firstly, you need to acquire a drawing hand image that includes a highlighter. Next, you need to match the color of your line to that of the highlighter. This is easily done by using the eyedropper tool on the color picker to capture the marker color and then assigning that color to your line. And finally, the highlighting line should then be positioned on a layer below whatever it is that you are trying to highlight. In most cases, the graphic to be highlighted should have a transparent background. If it is an external graphic, you will probably want to add it as a PNG file so that any transparent sections will be transparent rather than white and therefore allow the highlighting to show through. And that's it, QED. In many cases, it's useful to be able to draw more than a single illustration on your whiteboard at one time. In fact, stringing together multi-part explanations can be instrumental in developing a good explainer video. Consequently, It's convenient to have the ability to pan and zoom between different parts of your whiteboard. With Hype, this is relatively easy to accomplish by grouping individual illustrations into separate subpanels and then animating those panels with traditional timeline techniques. I've highlighted those subpanels in this example with a dashed border. Normally, you wouldn't show this boundary, but for now, it's helpful to visualize the panning and zooming as they occur. So, the trick here is that everything in an individual illustration is grouped into a single subpanel and those panels are panned and zoomed as a whole. This includes the drawing hand, which is sequestered off-screen until needed. The content overflow setting for each subpanel specified in the metrics inspector is set to hidden so that only content within a panel's boundary is ever shown. In this example, with 3 subpanels, I have 3 timelines: zoom left, zoom center, and zoom right. These timelines organize the movement and size of each subpanel in a coordinated fashion. Of course, you could easily extend this example to include more subpanels or more extensive panning. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this brief survey of some additional whiteboard graphic types you can generate in Hype. If you are interested to learn more about the neat things you can do with Hype, please check out my YouTube channel for other related videos. If you are interested to learn more about other things we are working on, please check out our website at alteredmindware.com or contact me directly at alteredmindware@gmail.com.